देश है। विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बाद के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साथ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूं, आईटी प्लस आईटी इज इक्वल टू आईटी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लस इंडियन टैलेंट इज इक्वल टू इंडिया टुमारो।
Hi, very good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome from 18th World Education Summit. And we are live on the third day of this summit, and we are here with our new topic, and we are going to discuss on what design changes will school needed in the post-COVID-19 world. So as right now we are working on the post-COVID situation, we are plan all the schools are planning regarding the precautions, regarding the measurement, what have to bring, what design changes are required. So to discuss on this topic, we have a esteemed panelists from the India and as well as from the foreign countries as well. So I would like to introduce our first panelist, Ms. Asha Alexander, Principal, the Kindergarten Starters from Dubai, UAE. Welcome, Asha ma'am. Welcome to the 18th World Education Summit. Thank you for gracious. And I would like to welcome Ms. Amrita Burman, Deputy Director, Sunbeam Group of Schools, Varanasi. Welcome, Amrita ma'am. Welcome to 18th World Education Summit. Thank you for giving your precious time. And I would like to welcome Dr. Nikhil Wagh, Chairman, Educon International School from Pune. Welcome, Nikhil sir. Welcome to the 18th World Education Summit. And I would like to welcome Ms. Debika Chatterji, Director, Principal, JBCN International School, Borivali from Mumbai. Welcome, Debika ma'am. Thank you for giving your precious time to us, ma'am. So I would like to take the opening remarks on this particular topic. So I would like to tell the audience, if you have any particular question regarding this topic, if you have any query, you directly put your query in the Q&A section. We will take it live. So I will start with the Amrita ma'am to give your opening remarks in maximum 3 to 4 minutes regarding this topic, that what design changes required in this post-COVID-19 world, what measurement you are taking right now, what the best practice can be done. Amrita ma'am, starting from you, over to you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And good afternoon to everyone. It's an absolute pleasure once again to be a part of the summit. And it's very nice because I think we've been speaking so much during the pandemic that we've all got so sucked into what was happening on the online platform that suddenly when schools have reopened, especially from the place that I come from, UP is far more stable and settled after the pandemic in the sense that we don't have so many cases. So our schools have reopened. So I think it's a very relevant topic to talk about. What are the changes in design that we are expecting once the COVID period is kind of coming to an end and we see the light at the end of the tunnel? And I would like to speak about all the different things that we decided that we speak about. But I think design has to be seen from both points of view. One is the infrastructure, the physical design of schools. Now, that's not very easy to change for any school that's already there. Yet, I think we'll have to look for a change in our outlook as far as learning spaces are concerned. Because obviously now we have children coming back, but they all have to be spread out. They have to be put into smaller numbers. And there's so much for them to do, especially right now, because there's been a lag in a lot of areas when they were, learning online. The other design, which I'm sure we will be talking about, is the curriculum design, which is the more intangible, I would say, but which is very, very important, because now that we are back from a traditional to an online to now the post-COVID time, the blended format is what we all are talking about. And for the blended format, a lot of changes have to be there in our curriculum. The pedagogical foundation has to be made a little different and very, very strong to be able to take the blended format forward. So these are the two aspects that I'm sure we all will be speaking about and should be spoken about when it comes to design changes that are expected in the post-COVID era. Over to you.
Thank you, Amrita ma'am, and we will sure further discuss regarding this from physical to online to this hybrid solution in the further discussion and how the situation will arise for the student as well as the teachers. So coming to the Asha ma'am, your opening remarks regarding the topics and what the best practices in UAE and other regions in your schools are taking place right now. Asha ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. This is a very much debated topic about what is the new normal in schools. My school too has opened for face-to-face, and the new normal is coming into existence gradually all over the world, as we have no choice but to reopen our schools and deal with the situation as it is. And so as we get back, almost 1.5 billion children have been out, under lockdown, been affected by this. And technology became the lifeline, as Amrita had pointed out. But what we need to do in the new normal is to see the access to technology, the quality of technology, and to upskill our teachers. So we need a just-in-time professional development that will become part of the new normal, as teachers have to be skilled, because technology alone is not going to suffice. We need teachers who can transact this new hybrid and blended learning. We also need, and I think this will come about, a growth mindset in teachers, in parents, and in students. Children have already come back, and I can see how much more independent they are. When they were doing online learning, teachers always felt that they had to somehow monitor children. But during this phase, they learned that children are accountable and responsible for their own learning, and they're capable of it. So I think during the
yes, now I joined.
new normal, I
Yes,
think
Shilpa ma'am, one second.
Thank you.
Shilpa ma'am, can you put off your mic, ma'am? Actually, we are on the live right now.
Okay.
Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Asha ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I think during the new normal, we're going to see more of students and teachers and parents having to exercise that growth mindset. Because literacy is not about extracting knowledge now. It is about co-constructing knowledge. And children will have different kinds of information they have to triangulate. So I think critical thinking in schools will become a very important part. So we have to design our schools both in terms of space, like Amrita said, as well as in our thinking and our mindsets, along with our curriculum, in order to prevail during this post-pandemic time.
Thank you, Asha ma'am. Thank you for your wonderful opening remarks. Ma'am, we will discuss about this critical thinking and how to put this critical thinking into the action. Actually, much more talks about this thinking and the readiness of the future. So let's discuss how we'll put in this action as well. So coming to Debika ma'am, your opening remarks regarding these topics and what your thoughts and how your future initiatives in the school education domain, ma'am. Debika ma'am, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it is a great privilege to sit here with all of you today and share our thoughts and ideas. Just quickly, for me, the focus of change has to first start from the purpose of education. The first thing that we do as a part of schooling is give young people knowledge. The second one is skill development. The third is very, very difficult to define. It is about knowing oneself. It encapsulates the issues of mental and physical well-being. And the last one is about citizenship and community cohesion. How does an individual connect with other people around them? And COVID has brought all this to light. In mental health has moved from being the third purpose of education to becoming the primary purpose. What we need to ensure coming out of the crisis is that the four purposes are viewed as equally important. Unlike numeracy and literacy, there is currently no attempt to measure outcomes on well-being. So sooner rather than later, we would have to open up conversations on what success in mental health and community cohesion looks like. As we move forward, we know that COVID has become the biggest reason for internalization of everything that we have learned so far. It has become a reason for reflection. So will something better emerge from the embers of the pandemic is what I keep thinking. COVID drove educational change at a rate that would have been unthinkable before. The key to ensure that momentum is sustained, we know that the crisis has generated change. This is an opportunity, therefore, to transform education, which we should not squander. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Debika, ma'am. Thank you for your wonderful inputs. And we will discuss on the skill development also, ma'am, in this new digital era, that what kind of skills we needed, and so that we can work on this 21st century skills. So coming to the Nikhil, sir. Nikhil, sir, your opening remarks regarding these topics and what your thoughts, as well as should we wait for this vaccination process for the reopening of the schools? Nikhil, sir, over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, one and all. It's a pleasure to be amongst all of you and my fellow colleagues and educators. Well, the impact of the COVID-19 impact on our schools and community is rapidly changing by the minute. Therefore, our action plans and responses must evolve accordingly. Basically, I believe that education and learning is about human interaction, dialogue, and exchange. And that should, that memento should be carried forward. Like we were discussing, what would be the new normal for schools? Other than this SOPs that are to be followed strictly as issued by the government authorities, blended learning could be one of the most important aspects where schools would, the blended learning concept is going to be with schools for a longer time post-COVID also, wherein, for example, if you have a class size of 30 students, you divide 15 students at one time and 15 are at their home getting to learn online. So if we have this online that is going on right now from the classes, from the homes, where the teacher is also conducting online and students are also learning online. So half the class could be online for 3 days, half the class could be face-to-face in the classroom, because face-to-face interaction and that human connect is more important for us to disseminate knowledge and to make teaching learning process more engaging. That's what I believe. As far as vaccination goes, yes, the protocols that are there that have to be strictly followed. We will have to see to it that our schools are COVID safe schools. So all the sanitization precaution, vaccination of staff, vaccination of all the other adults that who come, that we'll have to take care of. We will have to have systems in places where we give that, we create that kind of an atmosphere where the parents and the students feel safe to attend. And once that trust is there, that faith is there, that the school is a COVID safe school, and we should take all that is there within our hands, precautions, to make it a COVID safe school. Other than this, we can have staggered school timings, and so that we basically, I think that we should reimagine and rethink about the way education has been imparted in our country. Let us just think out of the box. Let us think of having staggered timings. Let us think of blended learning. Let us think of technological integration in the classroom, which is a very important aspect. Let us have an optimistic approach towards learning. Let us revisit our reassessment and evaluation patterns so that they are linked to learning outcomes, and think out of the box, and instead of just limiting ourselves to a pen paper method of testing, we should follow various other evaluation methods. So COVID-19 has really given us, has thrown a challenge to all the educators to rethink and reimagine how education is going to be imparted. And just to close my initial remarks, education is not just the amount of information that is put into a child's brain. undigested, unrelated, and unassimilated. The basic essence of education is the formation of character and developing a positive view of life. So basically, the concept of education should help form a character, should express help from a character, expression of intellect, and developing a positive view of life. That should be the purpose of education. And COVID has really given us an opportunity to rethink about it. So that I would like to state here.
Thank you, Nikhil, sir. Thank you, Marks. You have covered majorly some topics regarding the design changes in the coming for the future of the schools. So from here, we will take the discussion parts regarding this topic. So coming to a discussion point, Amrita ma'am, my question is to that before in 2019 when we are going to the physical, in 20 when the crisis comes up, we comes to the online. In 2021, we are thinking about the hybrid education, ma'am. So what learnings that we have seen in this 2020 impact that schools are closed from February and right now also many schools are closed. So what learnings we have taken from this COVID situation, and should school focus on the more on the digital infrastructure rather on the physical infrastructure? So they have empowered their digital infrastructure over coming to the lands, opening the stuff. So Amrita ma'am, your takes regarding this, ma'am.
You're on
Ma'am, can
mute.
you put on the mic? Amrita ma'am, can you put on your mic?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, I said, if I understood your question well, Abhishek, it's probably you want me to speak about whether schools have really started concentrating too much on digital and technology.
Yes.
And then what about the physical part? So, see, for many schools like us, the challenge on the physical front has been tremendous because your physical infrastructure is already ready, as I mentioned earlier. Now, with the staggered timing, lesser number of children in your classroom, how do you manage to see that the physical distancing is brought into place, and yet, academics, or I would say education as a whole, goes on for the children? So obviously, you're making more and more learning spaces in your school. That means areas which were probably a little untouched or were used for different purposes are now being used for multi-purposes. Maybe a lab when free. There are some children sitting in the lab. Plus, there are some children sitting in a classroom, so that you kind of distance them from each other. Have lesser numbers. So my point is more challenge on the physical front, where we really can't extend the physical infrastructure in a school. But yes, a lot of concentration has happened on the digital side. And I think this has been probably one of the biggest gifts, presents, or whatever you would like to say, to the education fraternity and industry during the COVID period. Everybody struggled initially. Everybody had staff, some very good with technology, some not very good with technology. People were trained. All schools invested in their digital, literacy of their teachers, and also in the infrastructure of when it came to the digital front. So I think that both of them, the physical and the digital, have to go hand in hand. And to make that possible in the post-pandemic period, our confidence building of the teachers, our hand-holding of the teachers, I think what the challenge that I'm facing today, one of the biggest challenges is not just the training, which has been done to a large extent, is the fact that when we have come back to physical school, are some of the teachers who were not very savvy with technology going to bounce back to the traditional format because they find that as comfort zone. So I think one of the biggest challenges is, now that the investment has been done on the digital part, are we as leaders managing to keep the environment in a way that the best of the traditional world and the best of the online world is being blended with giving complete confidence to each and every teacher that they can do it? Besides that, I think even investment when it comes into technology by parents and children and the teachers personally has been a big challenge, and we're still handling it. So I think a good blend between the physical and the digital is what we're seeing as the future of education today.
So, Amrita ma'am, is it possible that after reopening the school, will the student will be allowed to keep mobiles in the classroom?
Well, I must tell you that already we have allowed our students to get not just mobiles. We've also allowed them to get their devices in terms of tablets and in terms of laptops. And of course, they also have to get their own internet connection because we don't have that kind of bandwidth in schools. More than that, we have made it a point that we take our online classes. So, for example, at Sunbeam, our plan already in place is that once the schools reopen for all 6 days, which is already there for 9, 10, 11, and 12, school will shut down in the physical way for 1 day in a week. And we will have only online classes for 1 day so that everybody, the complete machinery is oiled continuously on the online platform also, because we dream of all weather schools. I'm dreaming of a day when, in case in a place like Varanasi, suddenly there is an order because you have the PM visiting and everything gets shut on the day because it's the PM's constituency. The schools will be physically shut, but
Okay.
teaching will continue. So we have to do both together.
Perfect, ma'am. Perfect, ma'am. This is nice inputs regarding this topic. So coming to the Asa, ma'am, my question is to same in the same context that what is the right now from 2019 we are in the high physical 100% physical, 2020 we come to the online, 21 we come to the hybrid, ma'am. So what behavior changes you are seeing, and what the best practice should we follow in terms so that the behavior who comes of the online that we have done not in the 70 years, we done in the 1 year only. So what best practice should we do in terms of the hybrid education so that the impact of digital education should be on the long term impact? So Asam, what best practices you are doing in the UAE and the other schools, and are you allowing students with the mobiles in the classroom right now in the physical?
I have to tell you that we started digital learning 9 years ago. So when we had this pandemic, we did not have the problems that many schools had. We have a bring your own device policy. So right from grade 2, students bring their devices every day. They charge them in schools. We have no problem with bandwidth. We keep equipping, and we've been investing in technology. So we already were following a blended kind of learning. But that said, when you're looking at strategies changing, I think everything that happens around the curriculums are getting overloaded. There's too much of material to study for children. So what I'm looking at is we reduce the content and look at building skills. It's not so important. If you have the scientific skills, then it's not about the content you're learning. Do you think like a scientist? Do you think like a mathematician? Can you speak and use a language effectively? So I'm looking a lot at skill building. So we moved on to a strategy called cognitive activation through problem-based learning. So we are integrating the disciplines. So we are looking at a problem really which is happening in societies, and children are applying the knowledge that they are extracting to that problem. And in applying that, they're learning math and science and English and history, because the language and whatever's growing around us is growing exponentially. Knowledge, we can't put that all into little boxes called curriculum and stuff it and make children learn everything. As educators, we have to make it not just an inch deep, mile wide curriculum. We have to take the key concepts that we want our children to know and deepen that understanding. So what I want for us in terms of strategy, and I'm seeing a lot of adaptive learning tools which we are using. We are using a wonderful tool which comes from India called MindSpark for mathematics, where children are taken and they're given a problem, and if it's too difficult, a lower level is brought in, and children are able to learn. They're enjoying math. And all these things are happening. When there's enjoyment, there's engagement, which I have seen when we've introduced virtual and augmented reality in classrooms. We're looking at artificial intelligence, but along with that, we just can't have all this robots. We need good trained teachers who will allow children to practice self-directed learning. So I think children should learn to teach themselves. We can't teach everything in our curriculum to them. We have to rely on flipped learning, allowing children to read some passages at home, try and understand some things, and come to classrooms for discussion. Because it's not the amount of time in school that indicates success. It's the quality of instruction in schools that accounts for success. So I think we have to make sure that our strategies involve not worrying about how much time is the child missing, how much time is the child in school, but utilizing strategies that will enable and trusting those children that they will be able to direct their own learning, they'll be engaged, and they will be able to learn at home just as well on their own as they can in school. And I have seen that in these 9 years when we've used the Bring Your Own Device. If you trust children and you teach them an ethical way to manage a device, you can be sure children will grow up being responsible. But if you doubt them and you are always monitoring them and saying you're going to do something wrong with the device, then that's what you'll get. If you give any tool to a child, you have to give them rules for using the tool. We don't give a car to a child without teaching them safety on the road. So when we give them a device, we make sure that they're taught about common sense curriculum on media. How will they behave ethically? How will they use this tool ethically? And once we trust children, they pretty much come good and they're learning well. So I think the strategies have to be forward looking. That's why I already mentioned we must have a growth mindset, not just the teachers, educators, but the parents as well. Because the biggest impediment is convincing parents to be trusting of this new mode of learning with which they are not familiar at all.
And Asa ma'am, what about the assessment, ma'am? Are you getting the better result in terms of digital era, ma'am? How you are managing the assessment? Because this is a major challenge right now schools are facing, ma'am.
I look more at assessment as assessment for learning than assessment of learning. Of course, we have the final exams and the summative exams, but the best kind of assessment is what tells you whether the child is learning in lessons and how we can improve and close gaps. So problem-based learning gives us an opportunity to assess the process of learning. Our focus should not be on the outcomes. It is, how is the child learning? Is he making mistakes? How can we use that mistake to teach and rectify the problems? So the focus on assessment should be more on the process of learning rather than the product of learning. So that is where we've shifted our focus.
Thank you, Asa ma'am, for this wonderful remark regarding the process and the product. And I think audience are writing down each point. And if you have any question, just put in the Q&A section. We will take it live after this session. So I think Shilpa ma'am has joined, ma'am. Shilpa ma'am, are you getting my voice?
Yeah, very good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon, ma'am. So, Shilpa ma'am, actually, we are in the middle of the session. So, I just want to take your remarks regarding this design changes you have implemented in your school and what the future thoughts so that we can further on move on to discussion, ma'am. So, Shilpa ma'am, if you want to take any kind of remarks for this particular topic.
Yes, sir. First of all, very warm good afternoon to each and every person who is in this session. First of all, I want to introduce myself. Myself, Shilpa Mahajan. I am from Aknoor. My school is located on the bank of River Chenab. It's 30 kilometers to Jammu city. I'm this field from the last 7 years, and whatever has been implemented in my school is all because of the observation through the parents and the children. The last year has taught us a lot. We don't have to say that COVID has make us a remarkable negative remark on our mind, but it creates I believe that it creates positive remark also. We have learned a lot regarding the education sector as a whole, as Abhishek sir has told that what are the future strategies we are taking. First of all, we have to consider the mindset of the kids, because kids has come forward to us after a gap of 1 year, and in 1 year the mental level and the stress level has been changed a lot. And what we have to do from the new session, everything has to be done according to their mindset. For example, in the last week we have taken assessment session for the kids of primary classes, and what the main observation has come to the point was that kids was not attentive to their teachers and to their classmates. They came as a stranger, as a strange way to the school. when they entering, they have no smile on their face. The curiosity level was also very low. And the main observation was that their attentiveness, what I'm observing, the attentiveness was very low at par. And now we are preparing the new session. We are gearing the new session from the 25th of March, because what we are planning, that we have to give an basic remarks to the kids in the starting of the April and in the first week of May, so that what the distance has been in the last 1 year to the kids in the education or in their mental level has been improved to a lot in this 1.5 year. And the second point, Abhishek sir, what has told you and what I'm hearing, actually, due to a technical issue in my place, I joined later on, but I have heard from the last 10 minutes. Everyone was giving their points to a very whole to this new session. I believe that no doubt NEP policy has been implemented, and we have to work according to that policy also. And that policy also making focus on their skill development and the mental development of the kids. And we are also doing the new scenario with such policies. So for example, as from the new session, I believe that mental level and the mental growth to be give priority as a whole to the kids, so that we what the gap has we come across to the kids and the school will be covering at all.
Thanks, Shilpa ma'am. Thank you for these wonderful remarks. And we will come to you all regarding the opportunities that you have created and how we are approaching the in this post-COVID situation. So I would like to come with Miss Debika ma'am. Debika ma'am, are you able to listen us? Yes. So Debika ma'am, my question is to you that when crisis is in the face in 2020, we are NEP comes in the preview, and we are talking about NEP. AI added in the curriculum. We are talking about the coding also. We are talking about the robotics also. Such kind of huge new initiatives has been taken in the 2020 only, when we are dealing with the how to deal with the digital education. How to teachers are fighting with how to come up the content, and they will give the learning based outcome. So what best practices you are doing in terms of your teachers, in terms of faculty, so that such kind of initiatives should be embedded in terms of the skill also, and they don't have an overburden in terms of technology burden as well, plus covering the syllabus also, covering the new initiative also, covering the new ed tech also. They have to turn the ed tech also. New technology is coming, new LMS system is coming in the school. So what best practices they become you are doing in a school, so that teacher will not be overburdened. They will be in the safe space, so that they can give the 100% output, man.
What I believe is, as a school, we have always been into best practices, and we have looked at this. Some of my colleagues were speaking about this, that this pandemic has not brought in anything new to our system, because we always believe that every day there is something new to learn in the field of education, and we learn from each other. We learn from our country. We learn from countries across the globe. And we have found that the pandemic has just reinforced the best practices that we always believed in. So when we talk about formative assessment of learning, rather than just ensuring that the children are prepared for certain grades, and focus on skill education, these have been practices that all good educators have focused upon before the pandemic also. What the pandemic has done is, it has ensured that all the unnecessary stuff goes out. So when the pandemic first broke out, I always tell people the first thing that flew out of the window were the original traditional ways of assessment, and nobody was bothered about taking examinations or giving marks to children. The focus of all educators moved towards the process of teaching and learning. In our school, our teachers started figuring out new ways of making the online classrooms interesting. We believe that the only thing that the pandemic has taken out is the campus. So the campus is missing, but everything else that happens in a school needs to continue and has to be held up. Formative assessment became very easy. They found so many tools. So they used Kahoots and they used Padlets, and there are a huge list of things which helped our teachers to move ahead with formative assessment. Another thing that all great educators hold very close to their heart is one-on-one interaction with learners. When we found that it was becoming more difficult for children and teachers to coordinate and be in touch with each other in large classrooms, we immediately broke it down to small classrooms. So what we did is our teachers started taking sessions for smaller number of learners so that the one-on-one connection could continue, which was especially important for the young learners of pre-primary and primary. We in our timetable, we put in every week 1 hour of one-on-one discussion with the parent and child, because we realize that there can be only a certain amount of synchronous time that a young child can spend in front of the computer. There has to be some asynchronous work, and the parents were handheld. So our team, they decided that during the pandemic, what was of greatest value, and that is what we want to take forward as we move. So if it is
And
about coding, if it is about
yeah,
computational thinking, we are already thinking that this is extremely valuable. The learning, what has happened is that in this day and age of technology, we have understood that the number one education provider is not the teacher in the school, it's Google. And by education provider, I actually mean the information provider. So the role of the teacher, which used to be confined to giving information, needs to broaden. Information is easily accessible. You click a button and you'll get everything that you need to know. Looking forward, technology will actually help us work one-on-one with learners. It will actually help us give them a lot more flexibility. Biologists have already found out that teenagers find it more difficult to get up early in the morning and be geared to study. What technology and this situation has taught us is that learners can learn at their own time, at their own pace. And this is something that we have to learn and take forward in the blended world that we are moving towards. We also understood that there were so many barriers to giving them every choice that we could possibly give. Timetabling was an issue. In the world of technology, that will become a very easy thing, because you can have recorded sessions, you can have children taking up multiple subject choices, which ties in very well with the demands of NEP. So I think there are numerous possibilities which are going to open up in the future, and there is a lot to look forward to.
thanks, Debika ma'am, for these wonderful remarks. So coming to the Nikhil sir, my question is to that, as per the discussion is going on, that we have done the mastery on the digital education, on the blended learning or on the phase. So in future, if a student want a choice that I want to be on the blended learning only, we don't want online classes, we don't want physical classes. So such kind of module coming in the future of the schools. If any student is want, we will go to from the learning from home only. So such kind of, we don't want physical classes. So such kind of modules will school will introduce in future. Sir, can you put on your mic?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, basically it depends upon the school and the parents' choice. See, the school will have to offer this kind of option to the parents and the students. If they want to continue online, they can do online. At the same time, they can. The school also will have to make a provision for a face-to-face interaction. There are many people, and especially students, are very eager to come to school. They are very eager to come to school. They are very eager to be in the classroom, discuss things with the teachers. At this point, I would like to mention teachers across our country and globe have done a fabulous job. They have shown resilience as a quality which has made the whole thing moving. And we were speaking of technology also. Technology is just a tool in the hands of the teacher. Technology is a vehicle. It's a powerful vehicle. But what technology, what technical things the teacher has to use is up to her judgment. her connect with the class. And like I always tell, our teachers are the master of the class, so they should have that connect with the students, and they should devise a strategy, devise a plan within the curriculum framework, how they are going to implement it, which technological tools they will implement it, so that all the students that they are teaching are connected, engaged, and motivated in their learning. Coming back to the main question that you asked, if some students and parents want to continue online, yes, they will, because it will take some time for us and for the whole education ecosystem to come out of this kind of a COVID situation. So there would always be what you say, a sense of fear amongst the stakeholders. If I send my child to the school, whether the school is taking that precaution or not, whether my child would be safe in the classroom. So that will come with time, that the school has to demonstrate. The PTA and all the other executive members of the parent teachers body have to also see to it that they create this kind of atmosphere amongst all the stakeholders. And this format of blending learning will continue for a time, and it is also helpful, given a choice, like some of the speaker earlier said, learning has to happen. That is the crux of the matter. How it is happening, either it's online or it's offline, that doesn't matter, because online also, all the schools, majority of the schools across our country have done a tremendous job establishing the connect, delivering the teaching learning pedagogies. But there is other side of it also. There is a digital divide in our country. Some schools are really struggling with it. So we as educators also have to think on a comprehensive policy wherein we reach out to each and every child. Various mediums like school radio, like radio, TV programs. Those who don't have digital devices can, opt for those things. Those who are struggling with internet connections can be called, face-to-face interaction by the school for a specific period in a staggered timing. We can also make a plan of 15 days or 1 month and give them the plan, and take parents into confidence how the child has to go about it, and then he again reports to the teacher. Schools can also think of having a toll-free number where you can connect and speak to the teacher in case of any difficulty the child is having implementing the teaching learning pedagogies that have been guided to him. But yes,
so Nikhil,
yeah.
Nikhil, so what do you see the future of education? It is like to be the hybrid module only, or we will come to the physical mode only?
No, I think the future of education, according to me, is going to be a mix of both. Blended learning would be the future of education, where online will go on for a longer time, and I think online will be a part of our ecosystem. In fact, I would like to quote a recent UNESCO report, which was done by International Commission on Future for Education. In that, they have highlighted 9 ideas. In that, even the RTE, expanding RTE is also one of the important aspects that they have mentioned. They have mentioned about education to all. They have mentioned about the concept of blended learning, which will be continuing for some more years according to their report. So that's what I believe in, because COVID, post-COVID that we are talking about, COVID is still going in our country. We never know when post-COVID time will come. So it's going to, it's infinite. So it's better schools, adapt to this change and make blended learning a part of their day-to-day instructional kind of a policy. And that will help the learners also, and it will give a choice to them. If I am not comfortable sending my child in the school physically, I have a choice where my child sitting at home can see the class. The whole class, the teacher is like in the starting comments I said, divide the class into half, let half come and half be online. So the entire school period, if your school starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and ends at 2 o'clock, and you have 8 periods in a day, the child sitting at home can see all the 8 periods. I think that should work. That's my opinion. We can take opinion of our fellow educators also.
Thank you, Dr. Nikhil, for your wonderful opinion. So yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. Since you asked this question, that do you think that the future of education is going to be online? I can't say whether it will or it will not. It is a very personal opinion, whether it should be or it should not. Okay, so I think that coming just a completely online class possibly may not work very well with human beings, because what we are all seeing in the post online class days is that children are really missing that physical touch. they are really reeling under a lot of mental stress and other things. All said and done, we as human beings need to be in a social environment of togetherness. Therefore, I would never recommend, it's a personal choice again, it's not, there's nothing right or wrong about it, that we should have only online classes unless we are thrown into a pandemic situation and the government doesn't allow. But I'm talking about an era when we are all going to get back to normal. I'm sure that day will also come. I would 100% would like to go best of both the worlds, the traditional and the online. Blend is much better than completely online.
Ma'am, continuing to you, Amrita ma'am, that if you want that physical classes, if physical touch is must for the students. So we have in the same context we are saying that digital education we have done the mastery. So our school is not in hurry to reopening the classes. Can they wait for the vaccination process? We have already done one year in the online classes. Can we wait for next 1 year also, so that until vaccination process will be done? So what is the reason why that schools are in so hurry to reopening the schools? So Amrita ma'am, Shilpa ma'am, if anybody want to.
I think that we are actually in a hurry to reopen schools, to be very frank. But if the government directives don't support that, because they obviously see the larger good, they know how long it's going to take for the vaccination to reach different parts of the population. So I think we have to respect that. They're probably seeing that. So in any case, school children have come back. In UP, children have come back for all
Yes,
6
ma'am.
days in the seniors. So the
Yes.
process has started. In a way, I'm thankful because in a very slow way, giving us time, little bit of trial and error, trying new things, thinking out of the box. I think the hybrid or the blended format is coming up slowly, beautifully, which is going to happen in most part of the.
Okay, Shilpa ma'am, your take regarding this reopening the schools. Ma'am, how
Uh,
Jammu is doing, ma'am, right now?
as far as my concern, this depend on area to area. As I'm talking about my area, everyone has not smartphone, and the network issue is there, as you are
Yes,
observing regarding my case also. In my place,
yes, yes,
network is
ma'am.
not. And do you believe, sir, from the last 1 year, we were working on the 2G network. I think you know, you are all aware regarding Jammu and Kashmir that 2G was working and
Yes,
4G has started in the last 15 days. That was the main issue, but we were facing from the 1 year, but we still going forward. But as far as this question arising by you, I'm talking about this depend on the area to area and purpose. Purpose of this question has been different and vary from place to place also. See, every parent cannot afford to one or two phone because if they have siblings studying in a same school, they can't afford two phones at a time. And I think personal schooling is very much necessary. Uh, I and hybrid, no doubt, hybrid learning cannot replace the technical learning. If and life has to go forward. That is not case with the school. It's all on the other cases and the other areas also. School, why all this question arising on the school? I always ask this question as I'm politician also, I'm counselor also. I'm used to ask this question to every people. Why such question arising on the school field? Because we people are much more concerned with the kids rather than the other field. If the kids can go to tuitions, they can go to the market, they can go to the marriages and the functions also. Why can't they attend the schools? We people are very much considered very much regular with our kids. As for example, if the kids are coming for the examination or the assessment in the school, they are firstly checked in the gate, then sanitize their hands. And sir, I believe no other organization can work like we people are working for the children as a whole. That's why physical learning is very much necessary so that kids can come and interact with their spams and interact their companions for the more learning as well.
thanks, Shilpa ma'am. A very important point, ma'am, you have taken that if everything is open, marketplace is open, cinema hall is open, then why cannot school will be open, ma'am? And schools are taking much more care rather than any other institutes. So coming to the Asha ma'am, that what the best practices right now UAE is doing in terms of the reopening the schools, that you think that the particular aspect that we are doing right now in other countries, ma'am. Asha ma'am, over to you. Ma'am, can you put on your mic?
In UAE, we are also looking at staggered timings. We only bring a certain percentage of students. Staff have been told to be vaccinated. In my school, 95% of staff and the 100% of ancillary staff have been vaccinated to reassure parents. But just like Amrita and everyone else has said, learning is a relational phenomenon. You need children to come into school because all of the stress that families are dealing with, where children need to bond with each other, they need to see their teacher. In some cases, students have not even seen their teacher, especially in kindergarten and primary, for one whole year. When they have seen the teacher, they have seen her with masks on and they're not able to recognize her face. Now, we're social beings. It's absolutely essential that people come in. But we cannot enforce that. And just like you're saying, the people are going to malls and people are going to different places, attending weddings. But when it comes to congregating for, say, 5 hours in one place, traveling 1 hour in the bus with other children, parents are worried about their children's safety. So we've tried to reassure them. Buses are going at half capacity. Just like Amrita said, we are reimagining different places and spaces. We're using places differently so that we can manage the physical distancing. But eventually, I think hybrid learning, in the sense that technology has altered the way we look at learning, and we can't go back to what we were. We've already been changed in different ways, whether it is through assessments or how we, interact with learning. So some of the good practices are going to persist. Personally, I'm enjoying this webinar. I'm enjoying interacting with such wonderful educators whom I would never have seen or interacted with if it had not been for the situation. So I look at the positives, and I think these practices will stay. And this is what I'm encouraging. We are twinning with schools around the world. I have around 15 schools from different countries, many 5, 6 from India, Bangladesh, Australia, USA, Singapore, where our children are doing lessons alongside them. These are practices where children are learning from one another. They're teaching children in another country through this medium. So there are so many positives which you can use, even though they cannot come into school in the way they were. But given that, it may not be the pandemic, it may be climate change, it might be floods, it might be disruption due to war. But if anything happens again that disrupts education, I feel we are prepared. Our teachers are better prepared than when the pandemic hit us worldwide. So I think practices are evolving. And it's not about the UAE alone. We are learning from everywhere, from how different people are handling these situations in their schools. And I think everyone is using common sense, making sure children are safe and reassuring parents, because it's very important that children and teachers and their peers get to meet each other in the physical
Thanks. And Asama, could you also want to highlight regarding the happy education in the Dubai, how we are implementing that? It's one of the beginning the new models.
Yes, this Martin Seligman's model of PERMA, which is, positive engagement, positive relationship, welfare and well-being of people are at the heart. So somebody was saying they have 1 hour of, one-to-one interaction. We have 1 hour of, just informal interaction. Children don't have break times. They can't play. So we have 1 hour given where they can just chat with each other. They might have a parent there supervising, or they can do anything they want to, because that informal interaction is missing in the home. So students have studied for 1 year together in grade 3 or 4, but they haven't met physically. So we are encouraging this because it's very vital for their mental health, for them to meet each other informally as colleagues, to understand what talent they have. Children miss corridor talk. Children miss being in the playground. So though we can't make everything in school the same as the one in the class at home, we're trying to provide similar opportunities for children to interact with one another.
Perfect, Asam, perfect. And we are Delhi government also include this happy curriculum in their new subject matters. So we are also on the way that how we can do. So actually, right now we have a 3 minute left, and we will take a 5 minute buffer as well. So if we are discussing about reopening of the schools and the for the COVID-19 situation as well. So without discussing the national education policy, so this session can't be over. So my question to every panelist: can NEP 2020 could achieve the standard of international education our India is able to attract the US, UK, Europe students in the future? Will NEP 2020 is able to do that? Amrita ma'am, over to you, ma'am.
So NEP, I think, is very, very close to my heart, like it is to many other educators. It's come after 34 years, and I think having gone through the NEP several times, spoken about it on a number of platforms, I think NEP has been an absolute. I wouldn't say an absolute change, frankly, because I think a lot of good schools, as also previously mentioned, were doing a large part of what the NEP is talking about when it talks about difference in assessment, not going in for rote learning, talks about a few things which are very interesting, like vocational education in 6, 7, and 8 1 year, which I think most of the good schools will be taking up. Or it's talking about, getting in for coding, scientific temperament. So, and I think the best part about the NEP, to cut a long story short, is going to be it's not only the outlook to the way we're going to teach, which is going to make a difference, because all good schools were doing it in any case. It's the way the NEP has approached the teachers. I think that's going to be a game changer. Number one, it talks about the training of the teachers, the 4-year B.Ed course, or really taking up the TET in a very strict way, or whatever we want to call it, and the CPD, the continuous professional development of the teachers. Teachers wouldn't learn. I mean, you would get into a profession. Some of the good schools continuously trained their teachers, but there were many schools that really didn't bother. So I think evolving the training part of the teachers was another best part. The last thing for the teachers was the progression, their career progression, where there are going to be no PGTs and TGTs, and so you used to get a lot of money if you were teaching class 11 and 12, and you don't get respect and money, I would say, when you were teaching the KG section. I think that is completely gone. So I think the best part is we've actually given teachers respect. Once they get respect, they teach well, they interact better with kids, they love kids, they fall in love with their profession. It's going to be a game changer there. So I think NEP is really good from this point of view.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Amrita ma'am, for this wonderful closing remarks. Nikhil sir, your closing remarks. Can NEP help us in making the global guru again?
Yeah, NEP is very promising, and like Amrita ma'am said, all educators are really looking very anxiously for the implementation of the NEP. There are very promising thing, and to sum it all only in one sentence, the NEP also revolves around this educational philosophy. If the child is not learning the way we teach the way the child learns. That sums up the NEP. It is so well drafted on paper, but the implementation is a concern. There are a lot of good things like skill-based education, which is very important. Recognition of early childhood education was the need of the day. And like I've always said, teaching preschool is more difficult than teaching higher classes. But
Yes.
in our country, we didn't have even recognized that there is a concept of early childhood education. So that NEP has done. Another important point which NEP has done is interdisciplinary learning. Taking out this bracket that anybody who loves music cannot take a science subject with it, or anybody who does like some commerce subject cannot take any other subject with along with that. So that interdisciplinary learning is also something which is already happening in developed countries. So India is on the right track. The NEP is very well drafted. If implemented with the in letter and spirit, it is going to be a game changer. And very soon you will see India, like in the ancient times, India was one of the leading countries as far as education goes, and today also it is. Knowledge in India is much, much better sought than the rest of the countries, even if you see today. So from my point of view, NEP is a very good step, and all educators should implement it rightly. Like Madam said, many good schools are already doing it. It is aimed at achieving holistic well-being of every child. Holistic learning is a new age movement in education, which engages all aspects of a learner. That is your mind, your body, and spirit. And that is what NEP gives a platform to. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Nikhil sir. Thank you, Nikhil sir, for your wonderful closing remarks. Debika ma'am, your closing remarks regarding NEP 2020, and are we on the right path, ma'am?
Absolutely, and I agree with both the panelists who have spoken about NEP. I think it is a giant step in the right direction. It is something that all of us have been looking forward to because it brings in so many crucial parts of education together. It talks about bringing in creativity, it talks about teamwork, which is a great component of good teaching and learning practices. It talks about bringing in elements that will help children to become problem solvers. It will bring in the design learning aspect, which all of us value. It helps overall to bring together the great focus of education. I think that has been there throughout times, age old, not just modern. NEP has brought that whole thing together, and I have a lot of hope for the future of education in India because of the thoughts that have been put forth by NEP. Now it is up to us to implement all those great thoughts.
Wonderful thoughts, ma'am. And thank you, Deepika, ma'am, for this closing remarks. Shilpa, ma'am, your closing remarks from the Jammu Kashmir ki wadiyon se, ma'am.
Sir, I am very much agree with all the educationists who have spoken regarding NEP. As far as my concerning is that the NEP it will bring huge change in our country, and because it's a need of the hour also, as if the environment and the mindset of the kids has been changed, but why not with the education sector, and that NEP has bring, and no doubt it has to be not to be happening on the paper. It has to work on the ground level also. See, it will bring lots of challenges. The main challenge, what I believe, is the trained teachers for the NEPs. And regarding the far-flung area, teachers are not up to the mark for the NEPs. And regarding the coding program or the AI program, that will be I think, the main prospect I will believe facing. But in the last, I would say we are the educationalists that believe in positivity, and that brings lots of change in the future of the education sector in our country. And we are working already, and we will definitely work according to the NEP that brings lots of change. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa, ma'am. Thank you for this wonderful closing remarks. Asha, ma'am, your closing remarks regarding the aerial view of the NEP from the Dubai.
I am so excited. I couldn't be happier when I saw the national education policy, which is so aligned with international best practice. All I would say is don't worry about implementation. People make mistakes everywhere across the world. We shouldn't give up on something because we find our teachers are not trained. Give people time. Let them make mistakes, but let us not deviate from the NEP because we say it didn't take place in a year or it didn't take place in 2 years.
Yes.
If we are consistent and we hold on, as educators, we know this is setting the right direction of travel. If we hold on to this and believe in our teachers and believe in ourselves, we can be the best education system anywhere in the world. I'm 100% sure, and there's so much hope for India. And I would love to see all of our schools, not just the progressive schools, but schools where, government schools and schools across, we have so many youngsters in India. And if we follow this policy, let us not doubt our the boards and the people who've come up with this policy. Let's trust them and let us take on the onus of training our staff and believing in this and pushing forward. So I think it's a great policy.
Thank you, Asha ma'am, for this wonderful and the positive aspects of this NEP. And by this, we are wrapping this session, and such a positive energy, such a positive attitude of the leaders we have seen in this session. So we have much more questions. We have 7 more questions from the audience side. So what I will do, ma'am, I will just email these questions to you. If it seems worthy for you, you can revert on the email, and we will directly get back to all the audience, ma'am. And I would like to request audience, you can follow all the speaker on their social handle as well. They were much more proactive on the social handle. Please ask genuine questions if you have. Don't ask regarding admissions, regarding anything else. Please, if you have any genuine question, you just ping them so that they can get to revert you. So by this, we will wrapping this session. I will ask Rajeshwar to present the digital certificate to all our esteemed speaker So this small token of appreciation from our side. Speaker certificate is presented to Miss Asha Alexander, principals, the kindergarten starters from Dubai, UAE. Thank you, Asha ma'am, for giving your precious time to us.
Thank you.
To Miss Amrita Burman, Deputy Director, Sunbeam Group of Schools, Varanasi. Thank you, Amrita ma'am. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैम अपना कीमती समय हमको देने के लिए. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. To Dr. Nikhil Wagh, Chairman, Educon International School, Pune. Thank you, Nikhil Saab. Thank you for this wonderful opportunities to us and pleasure that you come and join us in WS, sir. To Shilpa Mahajan, Director, Shubh Memorial International School, Jammu. Thank you, Shilpa ma'am. Thank you for coming to World Education Summit, and we hope we can also come Jammu and Kashmir soon, and everything will be very fine there.
Okay, sir. I'm waiting to conduct such a session in July for playing.
Oh, yeah, sure. And the speaker certificate is presented to Debika Chatterji, Director Principal, JBCN International School, Borivali, Mumbai. Thank you, Debika ma'am. Thank you for giving your precious time to us. I request Debika ma'am if you can see their face so that we can have a group photograph. No issue. I think Debika ma'am has left this call. Yes. Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you,
I'm
Debika
getting
ma'am.
disconnected. Sorry.
No issue. So thank you, everyone, and I will send some questions to you on your mail. And thank you for giving your precious time to World Education Summit. And we are organizing our next summit in April or March, August. Let's see, ma'am, physical can be done or not. Let's hope for the physical. We will read physical soon, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists. Very nice meeting you. Hope we can meet again.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to World Education.